Namo Buddhaya. Good evening. Welcome to Buddha Dharma TV. I am Nidarsha Korituwaku from Toronto, Canada. We begin our program with the sacred chanting of the Ratna Sutra. It is conducted by our Venerable Vatala Sila Ratnam. This is the second part of the Ratna Sutra. We invite you to listen to the chanting with peace of mind and joyful heart.
Buddha Parivang Ye So Jing Puri Sang
focus our attention on Venerable Aya as she presents the commentary on Saddha, Confidence in Dhamma. Please prepare yourself to dive deep into her wisdom, her guidance, and hint of meditation. Please welcome Venerable Aya Upeka to talk on this essential topic.
Yeah, so we'll begin now that we have established where we are, where I am, and where you are. And we are now in the present moment. So perhaps we can settle down then and get ourselves comfortable. Okay. And just sit back and allow yourself to relax. Allow yourself to withdraw. Withdraw from the world and into the real world, which is what we experience. What we experience within. The world of our emotions, the world of our thoughts. That is the world. And so we spend a bit of time investigating it further. Drawing in and settling down. So just noticing what is happening in your world right now. How do you feel? What are the thoughts going through your head? And giving space for all of them to enter. Not pushing anything away. Not saying, okay, you're not welcome. This is not welcome. That is not welcome. But allowing yourself in. Allowing yourself to be heard. So what do you hear when you look at your mind? What do you feel when you come into your body? And spend a bit of time Just grounding ourselves in our bodies and sending a little bit of goodwill to our bodies. So we'll start with our heads. Wish ourselves well. Notice how it feels. Send a little bit of loving kindness to our heads. And then our shoulders and our arms. Noticing how they feel. And just sending them our well wishes. Hoping our arms are comfortable, at ease. And then our chest and upper body. Again, just wishing it well. Wishing ourselves ease. And our abdomens and the lower part of our body. Again, may it be at ease. May it be well. And our legs. Noticing how it feels. And wishing the lower part of our bodies a bit of goodwill, good wishes. So when we relate to our body and we relate to our mind, we have a bit of kindness, a bit of acceptance of all its little quirks and problems and deficiencies and goodness as well. And we relate to ourselves with a bit of kindness. And so we are aware of our body, aware of the whole body, noticing how we feel right now. Allowing it to be heard, for it to be just the way it is. We allow ourselves to be. We allow ourselves to relax. And as your body relaxes, notice how your mind also relaxes. Often we hold tension, thoughts, emotions, we hold it in our body. And as you settle down, perhaps your breath becomes obvious. If not, just happy to be in the present moment. Bringing your mind back for the last few minutes of the meditation, last 5 minutes. And just remembering the attitude of allowing things to be, being curious and listening to what is going on in your body and mind. Being gentle with ourselves. Not expecting anything, but just listening. Listening to what is going on. So we come towards the end of the meditation. Just before we finish, just reflecting on what happened in the last 20 minutes, half an hour. As your mind settled down, what helped it to settle down? Maybe it didn't settle down. What made it worse? And finally, before we end, we once again with goodwill in our hearts. We share the merit of our practice, the merit of our life with all beings. We wish that all beings find peace, find ease, find well-being, wherever they may be. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from anger and ill will. May they take care of themselves happily. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Okay. So, I thought I'd talk today on something I've been, we're on our rains retreat, so you have a lot of time to reflect on the Dhamma and reflect on what gives you the energy to do this work. You know, because we've got, as monastics, we have 3 months to meditate, and you go like, 3 months, that's it, I'm really going to go for it and get enlightened this time. But anyway, it fell apart in a couple of hours. And so I've been reflecting on faith, on saddha, and what energy, what the Buddha spoke about, what helps us to practice, what helps us to have the energy and the inspiration to do what is seemingly easy but just doesn't happen. However hard we try, like we really want to let go of these thoughts, but you know, they just they just keep coming, and the more we want them to go away, they just keep coming more. So I was thinking about what the Buddha meant by faith, what the Buddha meant by saddha, because this is one of the spiritual faculties. If you have heard of the 5 spiritual faculties, you've heard of the 5 spiritual faculties? It's saddha, faith, virya, effort, sati, mindfulness, samadhi, stillness, and panya, wisdom. So this is a big topic. So I was thinking about faith. The first one, saddha. So these are the qualities that help the mind to grow. And so what does saddha mean? So I looked in the dictionary, and saddha translates as to place the heart upon. To place the heart upon. Dha means the heart, and saddha is to literally to place the heart upon. So this translates as it commonly translates as faith, but it could be trust, it could be confidence, it could be belief, it could be devotion. So what comes up for you when you think of the word faith? So quite often, most of us come to a sense of come to this Zoom space, come to a monastery, because we're dissatisfied, aren't we? All of us are kind of deep down inside. We know there is something greater to our lives, but we just haven't. We're looking outside. Most of us have looked outside, looked in relationships, looked in having security, stability in the world, looking for some sense of evenness in our life, some sense of happiness that is kind of you could say meaningful. I'm not sure what it is for you, but for me anyway, we're looking for something, and we just don't find it. So, and then one day, at least for me anyway, you see someone, you meet someone, you hear a teaching, you read a book. And for me, it was a teacher, a person who kind of seemed to have what I wanted. They were they were peaceful, they were grounded, they were comfortable in their own skin, they were at ease in the world, and they seemed to do a lot of good. There's something there that you recognize. And so for me, and perhaps for you as well, that's where your heart suddenly goes, aha, there's something there that I don't have. And we somehow connect to that. We somehow, our heart lifts, and we recognize in that person something that, I get it. They seem to know what life is about. So perhaps for you, but for me, this is where faith first began. When you hear a teaching, see somebody, come across a book, and you say, aha, there's something there that I don't quite get, but I recognize. And somehow see the possibility. So this is a kind of faith which is, you could say, someone called it longing faith. That is, we long to be like somebody. We long to be like what the teaching describes. So it's kind of a faith that is outside ourselves, and we kind of resonate with, but it's kind of outside. But this is important too. This is often where we begin. We go like, this is something that is worth pursuing, isn't it? I have to say, one of the people who is in our monastery in Perth. There's one of the workmen. He's been there for like 15 years. He probably didn't finish school, doesn't have an education, and probably doesn't think a lot. But when I see Andy digging a hole, you go like, man, that's someone who is isn't complicated. And when he's digging a hole, you kind of go like, I want to be like that. He doesn't seem to carry any weight, the weight of the world on his shoulder. He's just singing a song usually, and you kind of go like, what do you do, Andy? How can you be so at ease with yourself? So you see this in somebody, and you kind of there is some resonance. So this could be a teacher, but it could be Andy who digs holes in a monastery. So we start with this kind of longing to be what we see in somebody else. I don't know if you recognize that, but that's how I have started. But then, of course, it doesn't last. We go to a teaching, we meet an inspiring person, but we leave their presence and we are still back with our own little minds. And, it's impermanent. And so we realize this something that we recognize, this faith that we see in someone else's ability. It's something that we have to find in ourselves, isn't it? So then we realize that perhaps if it was a teacher that you went to see, or a book that you read, you realize that the next step in faith is to have the trust that to put what this person teaches, what the Dhamma teaches, to put it into practice. So faith allows us to do something which we would otherwise not have done. It allows us to open to a possibility, to open to a way of being, a way of thinking that we wouldn't otherwise have gone into. We're so usually so used to doing things the way we always did it. We rarely question our thoughts, we rarely question our attitudes, we rarely question the way we operate. And faith allows us to question all these things. How am I thinking? How am I relating to the practice? How am I operating that is different to what the Buddha teaches? So faith gives us the ability the willingness to try a different path. It gives us the confidence and the willingness, really, to investigate. So I'm not sure how that has worked for you, but after many years of practice and making the same mistake over and over again, and listening to many talks, I realized that, I don't have to believe everything I think. Quite often we're so sure of our perceptions of people and our perceptions of the world and perceptions of, how things should be. So Saddha, faith, has allowed me to kind of say, maybe the way I'm doing things isn't necessarily the only way. How about I try a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of kindness, you know, allowing things to go wrong, allowing mistakes to happen. So trying to recognize that quality in our minds that is willing to just try things in a different way, because the Buddha said so, or a teacher said so. So faith allows us, another thing it allows us to surrender. We, again, are so fixed in how we react, so fixed in how we face the world. Faith allows us to just suspend our habitual reactions, and it asks us to just surrender to how we usually do things. So again, quite often we think that we need to have a teacher and we need to have somebody, tell us, do this teaching, don't do this practice, don't do that practice. And I'm always doubting, shall I do this? Shall I do that? Should I focus on my breath? Should I practice loving kindness? And so faith allows me to just kind of go, okay, I'm just going to give it a try. Don't know whether it's the right practice or not. We don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm just willing to surrender and just give it a try. So quite often you do a practice, but it may not work. But, I have faith to just go ahead and give it a go. So I'm not sure if you come to those problems as well. Doubt is one of our doubt is one of the hindrances, and the doubt actually can be quite good for us as well, because sometimes doubt is what helps us to question and to go like, this doesn't seem to be working. So actually doubt is quite helpful for us as well. So so when we have doubt, we're bringing this quality of faith to try something new, to try a new practice, to try a new way of thinking, to try a teaching that we, didn't think we were capable of. So faith is actually, it's quite humbling, isn't it? It allows us to put aside what we think we know and try something new. Try something we wouldn't otherwise have tried. So I thought I'd just ask you guys questions because I haven't been talking for a while. I've been quiet, so it's hard to get my head around what the heck do I say. But but just to open it up and say, how um, do you think of faith? How do you bring up faith in your mind, and how do you practice faith? What allows faith to arise for you? So perhaps, like I said, I haven't been talking, so I thought maybe perhaps you can share how you relate to this word faith, and how you do practice, and how faith has arisen for you.
So until other people
Yes,
think
yes.
about it, maybe
Yeah, thank
I
you,
will
Anuri.
start, Venerable.
Yes, thank you.
For me, like it was, faith was not initially there. It was a gathering of the knowledge which was there. And what is Buddhism? So listening to the Dhamma talks, that was the one which is there. But then when I slowly understood what is Dhamma and started meditating and learning that it is a practical way of, it is working, and then how big it is, then slowly that Shraddha, confidence, started growing up. And, when that knowledge kind of get little more and more mature, the saddha grew kind of like exponentially. So that is what happened to me. And so it kind of gave me that, confidence of sitting in the cushion and seeing, let it go and see what happens. So that is what confidence did. So it kind of didn't come up, it kind of grew. It grew, and when it grew, it opened up more, and then I could understand more things, and then it grew more kind of so it went hand in hand and helped that way.
That's true. Confidence actually builds on itself, doesn't it? The more you realize and see something, you kind of go like, oh my God, if this is right, then maybe the next step is right. Maybe the entire teaching is right. Maybe enlightenment is possible. So yes, every time you take another step forward, it gives you confidence in the whole journey. So yeah, it kind of verifies the teaching for us when we experience it for ourselves. I'm sure everybody in this room has had some little taste of the Dhamma, which is why you're here. Anybody else have I was thinking, like, how do we cultivate faith? How do we develop it? How do we keep it alive? One way is to read, to study the teachings, to actually listen to the Dhamma, practice read books, and that kind of inspires you to put it into practice. So yeah, Shirley.
Before Shirley, Karen was there. Can I?
Sorry, yeah. Corinne.
Good to see you and to hear you, Venerable. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Two observations. I noticed the word faith is very much still automatically linked to my Catholic upbringing, the faith of God. And
Right.
it was a very, what's the word? Rules to follow, ways of looking at it. The way I was taught, this opening your mind and questioning was actually not welcomed or encouraged.
Interesting.
So I constantly, and I'm not a practicing Catholic, but I find it has filtered my mind somehow. So I constantly have to sort of, it's almost like the tide. I sort of have to sort of lean away from that.
Right.
And then the second thing I've noticed, I'm very much influenced by my intuition. And I think my intuition on many occasions has always been right. But my intuition is very much linked to anxiety and resentment. I feel something, or something is happening there, something is coming there, anxiety. And then, oh, why is this happening? Oh, look at you. And then this reminds me of that. So I get caught up in all of this, which with the Dharma now, again, these are things I feel I constantly have to peel them back. Because there are ways of looking, ways of feeling that is actually, it's the suffering that I'm trying to get away from. So for me to then almost questioning my intuition and say it might not be so is very hard, because it has been my guide.
Right,
Separate from perhaps the religious tradition, which I left behind, then I moved into my world, but which is very much suffering.
Yeah. Wow.
So to leave that behind, which is, I think, which is the way, but that is, it's like pushing rocks.
Yeah, that's a good question. And so where do you find, where do you put your heart is the question, isn't it?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, where do you place your heart? That is so interesting. To your first point about, faith being just rules to follow and just to believe. Actually, probably faith is the wrong translation. It's probably a wrong use of the word wrong translation for the word saddha. Because to me, for what the Buddha encourage us to do is to have the faith to question, isn't it? It's he is asking us not to believe. He's specifically asking us not to believe in the Kalama Sutta. He's specifically asking us, in fact, what I get from the word faith is the confidence to investigate, the confidence to question, the confidence to what I usually think is right, or what even the Buddha says is right, to actually the faith to investigate, the faith to question, the faith to find it out for myself. That's what I think the Dhamma is about. The faith to find it out for myself. So it's quite a different kind of teaching. It's not to believe, it's specifically not belief. You believe in the beginning, but believe in the path, believe that this is possible, believe in the practice. It's not really believe enough to try the practice, but you have believe to try it out for yourself. So it's quite different. Yeah. And then your second point that then what we then tend to realize our own kind of fallible mind and our anxieties and our so-called intuition, which is often very colored by our defilements. So then where do we place our hearts? So yeah, that becomes tricky. Quite often I chant and I remember a person, I bring to mind the qualities of a teacher or, someone who inspires me, and I go like, well, that qualities that I see in Ajahn Brahm or something, that's what I aspire to. That's what I, try and cultivate in my own mind. So I try and place my heart on those, those qualities in someone else, that I admire. I'm not sure if that helps. Yeah.
I think you've worded it, the defilements of the mind. That's very clear. So thank you for putting it in all those ways. It gives me another way of, yes, thank you.
Yeah. No, Shirley.
Hello, everybody, and thank you very much, Venerable Upeka. I hope you're having a lovely retreat and a very peaceful time.
Yes.
I was thinking back what drew me to Buddhism many, many, many years ago. I've been practicing for many, many years and often had very little confidence in my own practice, and just felt for years I was a sort of failed meditator and pretty useless. And I don't know what it was that kept me going. I've no idea. Something must have worked to keep me going. Maybe because I met nice people, I don't know. But what drew me to Buddhism was, you put your finger on it really, this sort of confidence to investigate, to question. That's what drew, and the kindness, the loving kindness, that drew me to the Dharma. But then, after years and years and years, gradually, again, you put your finger on it. We don't have to believe our thoughts. We don't have to believe our emotions. We don't have to believe our failures. We don't have to believe any of that, because none of it belongs to us, and it's always arising and passing away. So it's pretty painful as well. So the Buddha really put his finger on it when he taught these 3 marks of existence. And also the Noble Eightfold Path, you realise, my goodness, it all fits together as you practice. It just makes, first of all, it makes sense on an intellectual level. That's again what drew me. But then it really, you sort of really think, yeah, it really helps in this moment to bring peace. And it was interesting in the meditation, because my meditation's gone a bit to pot over the last few weeks. But I didn't have a peaceful meditation. And at the end, I thought, oh, Mike's going to say, oh, look how peaceful you are at the end. But you didn't. You said you may not be peaceful, so thank you for that. But there was part of me that was peaceful with that, because I wasn't sort of taking myself so personally. I wasn't taking, and I just thought, oh, well, yes, I know what there are reasons why, it's all conditioned. And yeah, I can't really put it into good words, but the faith in, and I could actually just look at it and, the part of the mindfulness, the awareness, oh, this is just a rather restless mind going all over the place and just grasping after things. Just the bit of you that's watching that is actually okay. And that's where my refuge is, and that's where my faith is. So I just wanted to share that. Actually, it's all okay, really.
Wow.
I don't know whether that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes it's true wisdom.
Yeah, but it's not mine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the relief.
And it'll pass away as
Once
well.
I start to think, oh, now I'm wise, now I've got it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when
you
it all
lose it
falls
again.
apart, isn't it?
Yeah. Sadhu.
It's trusting the Dharma. It's just trusting the Dharma. whatever that is. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Whatever that is. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Janaki. Oh, Janaki?
Yes, I'm meeting you for the second time on Zoom.
Right. Right.
Remember, I visited you at the end of April, I think.
The end of
I visited
April. That's
Tuesday.
right. Yes, of course, of course, of course. Yes. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, are you still in Oxford?
No,
Are you in Oxford?
I'm in Sydney. I'm in
Oh,
Sydney.
you have come back. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, then it's the same because I'm only 2 hours in advance.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yes.
almost 9, nearly
Right.
9:10 here. Yeah, in New
Right.
Zealand.
Yes, it's 7:10 here.
Yeah. Anyway, it's nice to see you again. The Shraddha that you were talking about, and yes, it's really very good. But I am very reluctant to accept it as a faith, because faith could be something blind, because many people have blind faiths.
Right.
So I think it's an understanding and an appreciation, those two coming together. It's an appreciation built on the understanding. The more you understand, then you appreciate it more. And then with that process that you can, develop your faith. Because faith should be built within yourself and not on anything external. That's how I have built up my confidence in Dhamma, through understanding. So Shraddha, it could be something for me, it's like upholding goodness. So that's how I usually look at it, but always it is connected with the understanding. Otherwise, I don't think that I will have confidence in anything if I don't have the understanding. So that's how I look at it. And the more you learn Dhamma, the more you understand it, then the Shraddha develops. So once it's developed, of course, when you have a very good understanding and a very high level of Shraddha, then it's just like removing the reverse gear of your car. So you will never go back again. You go forward only. You will never go back. So there is no reverse gear. So that's how I look at it. Sadhu.
Sad. But our
That's all
faith
what I
is
have to say.
never really complete until we are a Sotapanna. So
Sotapanna,
until
that's
then,
right. So,
until then our faith is always a little bit, not
I don't think
complete.
so. I mean, in my case, of course, there hasn't been anything that would shake so I honestly don't like to call it faith even. If there is anything that has something called faith, it is only within myself. I have faith in myself, but not in anything else. But I do completely, I confide and I have the confidence in Dhamma. So, the more I understand, the more my appreciation is. So it's a higher, very great level of appreciation. So that's how I have developed my Shraddha. So it will never shake. I mean, it hasn't shaken up to now, never, even for a split second. So I'm developing too. I mean, it's going on, but I don't know where would be my destination, but the thing is, I'm going forward, but not backward, never backward now.
Sadhu.
So,
Okay, and Manori has written confidence.
Not Manori, Madhu.
Oh yeah, Manori has also
Yes.
written confidence may be better. Confidence may be better. Yeah, when Chanda likes the word confidence. There's so many translations. There's trust, there's devotion. Yeah, So many nice translations. So for Madhu writes,
Buddha is upholding. That's what I have read in somewhere, but I can later send it to you. Yeah.
uphold.
Venerable Dr. Punnaji has translated in that way. It's more in tune with the
Uphold.
real meaning of the word
Right,
Shraddha.
right,
Yeah,
right.
Shraddha. Yeah, that's what
Da
he has
means
given.
heart. Yeah.
No, Da is not in heart, not in his translation. It's uphold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uphold.
Because the heart is just an organ, and it's part of the one of the 32 parts of 32 body parts. So
it
heart
has
cannot. It can't make decisions. It only can feel because of our hormonal activities. So when it gets to the heart,
I'm sure
then
heart
feels.
has many, many meanings. There has many, many meanings, not just the physical. Anyway, we'll leave that aside. Now, Madhu says, for me, it started off after hearing the stories of the Buddha. For example, how he overcame many battles through loving kindness. Jayamangal Gatha, which to me was very inspiring. And then by seeing living examples of this made it really solid that it is not simply limited to some ancient stories, but these qualities can be developed even today. Exactly. That he overcame battles through loving kindness. I also found that, we're taught exactly the opposite. We're taught to kind of keep going, keep trying. I was also watching a little bit of the Olympics this afternoon. When you turn on your computer, you see all these interesting things, and you go like, wow, I mean, what drives those people to do such incredible superhuman feats? What do they have faith? What makes a human being so determined to do these acrobatics? And then remembering what the Buddha, his acrobatic was overcoming incredible obstacles with loving kindness. Wow, a totally different path to one of these Olympic athletes. Yeah. So yes, it's an interesting teaching, the Dhamma. How it relates to Olympic athletes, I'm not sure. Anyway, Veronica.
Hello, everyone. I've been practicing like Shirley for already quite a long time. I think I'm a very slow learner.
Aren't we all?
But there's always about what passes for this lifetime's personality called Veronica. There's always been a very strong yearning. Yes, I just can call it yearning. And I find that Sada, gradually over the years, the idea of Sada not as a set of rules, but just as confidence, trust, faith, has answered that yearning. It wobbles a bit, but when I'm really feeling faith in the Dharma path, it alleviates the painful yearning. That's all I can say, really.
Right. Yeah. Yes, there's something that we know we long for, and it hurts, like you said. We know it's there, and we don't seem to quite be able to embody it. But we have the Dhamma, we have the practice, and you go like, okay, I'm just gonna follow the instructions. Yeah. And then we have a little bit of happiness, and it's enough to keep us going. Like the Buddha said, beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, and beautiful in the end. Thank goodness for that. Imagine if we were suffering in the middle, all of us would have quit by now. Yeah, so that little bit of little successes we have is enough for us to keep going, keep the taste buds alive, and we, have the confidence to keep walking the path, however slow we are as learners. Yeah, it's very humbling, the Dhamma. There's only most of us probably will have to keep going for a couple of lifetimes, but at least there's something in our hearts that goes, this, I'm not going to give up. This definitely is the right way. And next life, we're probably in the next life. Here we are, as Buddhists, as practitioners of the Dhamma, because from another life, we've kind of gone like, I'm going to keep going at this because I know there's nothing else to do with my life. So yeah. So that something carries on. Something carries on. Elena says, even if it feels like progress is slow, I sometimes look back a few years and see how different things are now. That gives me confidence to keep going. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, you got to look back over long periods of time, not like yesterday, last week. Morning, evening, what happened? I was so good in the morning, what happened? Yes. Ajahn Brahmali always says, look back over like a 5-year period, 10-year period, and then you can see, have I progressed, have I regressed, and not, to look over, a good 5-year period, and then you kind of go like, yes, it's true, I'm not quite as, annoyed as I usually would be under these. I'm not quite so annoyed when I usually would have been. Yeah. So yes, keeping that long scale of things when we reflect on our practice. Yes, it does give you confidence. We wouldn't be here otherwise. Yes. But that also,
Sorry, Venerable, go.
No, sometimes, looking at a few years, you also see yourself decline. I've also seen myself decline, looking over 5 years, one 5-year period. I've noticed myself having become quite complacent, for example, comfortable, everything's okay. So it is good to reflect back over those long periods and see, what has gone on in my life? Because it isn't always up, and then you have to really dig deep and see, yeah, gosh, I thought I was practicing, I thought I was doing the right things, but 5 years later, I'm quite, complacent, for example, or so it's sometimes it's not, you might be doing the practice, you might be doing all the right things, for me, living in the monastery, doing all the right things, and yet it hasn't worked, it hasn't actually given the results that should be there. So then you do have to then really investigate, how am I practicing? Where am I sort of subtly stuck that I'm not actually going forward anymore? So yeah, then that's where you do have the faith to investigate, truly investigate, really dig deep. because the instructions aren't quite working. Yeah, breeder.
Let's take a short intermission and immerse ourselves in the enchanting melodies of the PowerPoint. The song Minding My Monkey Mind beautifully explore the need of the control of our mind in order to pursue the everlasting peace.
The true path to eternal peace. The fool sleeps, the master's awake. He watches and he is near. Knowing while others dream, wakefulness is the way to life. But we can if we attention. Oh, my restless mind, oh, my clinging mind, where will I see the light? I should be minding my mind, minding my mind, minding my mind, minding my monkey mind. Oh, my clinging mind, when will I see the light? I should be minding my mind, minding my mind, minding my mind, minding my monkey mind.
Our next segment featuring Venerable Ajahn Brahmali as he touches on the topic Sila, the foundation of the path. The Venerable takes us deep into the fundamental teaching of the Buddha. Please pay attention to what the Venerable has to say on this topic.
Okay, everyone. Have a good lunch? Yeah? Are you happy or sleepy? Or both? Bit of both. Okay. So I'll just do a little bit more Dhamma sharing, with you before we do some more meditation. Usually straight after lunch, good to listen to some Dhamma. At least you don't, it's a bit more, not as sleep-inducing as meditation can be sometimes. So it's a good opportunity here. So again, the theme of this little retreat arranged by Venerable Chanda is the idea of Sila as a foundation for the entire Buddhist path. In fact, it is a bit more complicated than that. If you read the suttas carefully, you find that it's not just Sila, but there's a number of things that are at the foundation of the Buddhist path. So you could say that good spiritual friendship is at the foundation of the path. That's one way of looking at it. You could say that appamada, which is like diligence or heedfulness, is at the foundation of the Buddhist path. You could say that yoniso manasikara, wise reflection, is at the foundation of the Buddhist path. So many things are at the foundation. But there's a particular reason why Sila is singled out, the idea of morality. And the reason is that a thing like Sila is one of what is called the 6 anusatis. Anusatis are the 6 recollections. And these are ways of contemplating the Dhamma, if you like, that can result in joy, happiness, and all these positive states of mind. And then the process of meditation emerges from that joy, from that happiness that you have. And so you can see here how the Sila and the meditation, they kind of join forces. You see the Sila playing a role in meditation practice. And of course, when you see that, you become much more interested in Sila. You want to purify it further because you understand the power it has to lead your mind to these, marvelous qualities and states that we hopefully one day we will sort of achieve, or it will happen to us, or whatever the right word is. Always dangerous to say achieve, right? Say achieve, it sounds like you're going to get in there, I'm going to do this. And then the ego gets involved. The ego is always going to do things. But the ego is just a nuisance, it's just a problem. So let's forget about the ego. So it's just, these things happen to us. And that's a very nice way of thinking about meditation. Yeah, you sit back and you allow everything to happen to you rather than you doing it. And then what happens when you think like that is that you leave the self, you leave the ego out of the equation because you think like that. But what you do have to do, what is definitely required then, is to put the foundations into place. The sila, etc. So these 6 anusatis, these 6 reflections that provide a foundation for meditation, is the contemplation of the Buddha. I talked very briefly about that this morning. I can go into much more detail about the contemplation of the Buddha. It's actually very inspiring, very interesting. But we'll leave it out for now because it takes too much time. Then you have the contemplation of the Dhamma, which is the teaching of the Buddha. Everything starts with the Buddha. The Buddha is the root cause of Buddhism. And once the Buddha arises in the world, then the Dhamma is the expression, the teaching of that Buddha. And so contemplation of Dhamma is a very interesting thing to do. Contemplate what these teachings really are about as a source of joy. Have you ever tried that? Contemplating, the thing, Dhamma, wow, Dhamma. You get really inspired, you get high on the idea of Dhamma. That's kind of the idea here. And so how can you do that? And one of the, it's very, very, I'm not going to talk much about this, but very, very briefly, because it's interesting to know some approaches to these things. It's not obvious how we do that. And so one of the ways that I like to think about the Dhamma is what I said just before. This is the most, did I say it before? I think I did. I can't remember what I said before. Anyway, this is the most important, maybe I said yesterday, literature in the history of humanity. That's what the Dhamma is. Nothing is more important than this. And I was recently in Sydney, not recently, a few months ago, I was in Sydney to visit my good friend Venerable Bhante Sujato, who is also very much into, the early Buddhist texts and these kind of things. And we did a book launch together. So we were launching these books, these translations of the sutras and the Vinaya Pitaka. And we were in this very nice building, kind of one of these stately buildings by Australian standards, kind of colonial style buildings, grand, tall ceilings, very, very beautiful building. It's the State Library of New South Wales, one of the largest states in Australia. And so we were there and we had this launch of the scriptures, and we had invited some very kind of, in Australia, very prominent people. One of them was the ex-premier of Western Australia. He's like the Prime Minister of Western Australia, basically. And he's kind of leaning Buddhist, so he comes to these things. Is that nice? You get kind of top people who are really kind of people at the top of the political scene anyway, coming to these events. That was really, really nice. And so we launched these books, and when we're there, because I was one of the translators, I had to say something. So I said, "This is the most important event in Australian history." People were looking at me. That was good fun to say. Just saying that, I really kind of, because it grabs people's attention, right? In a company like that, it's easy to say those things because they're all Buddhists, so they understand what you're saying. If you said it to an ordinary Australian, they might think you're putting down Australia or something, but that's missing the point. It's got nothing to do with putting down Australia. It's an understanding of the significance of the Dhamma. That is what it really is about. And here we are, for the first time, publishing these sutras in Australia, on Australian soil, making the Dhamma available to the Australian people, whoever they might be. And that's just such a momentous thing. It would be even more momentous if it wasn't available already, of course. But still, the fact that it's published there and now it's made available, it's kind of, there's something about that that's very powerful. Of course, I was wrong. I shouldn't have said it wasn't the most important event in Australian history. It was these are the most important books ever published in humanity. That would have been more correct. Why is that the case? Why are these books so important? What is it about the teaching of the Buddha that actually stands out in the history of world literature? And what makes them stand out, of course, is that they are wisdom. They are wisdom distilled down. There's kind of very, very little extra material, extraneous material that isn't required. Everything is just pure wisdom in a sense. There's a little bit of extra, there's a kind of, how are you, I'm well, that kind of thing, of course. But that's kind of also a bit of wisdom in that as well, surprisingly. But basically it's distilled wisdom. When we talk about great literature, we talk about people who are good observers of humanity, who are able to draw some wisdom from observing humanity, not like Shakespeare or whatever, But still, Shakespeare is like, that's not that big part of Shakespeare is that entertainment, right? That's kind of a big part of it. That's why people see plays and things. But this is like distilled wisdom. It's like the best of Shakespeare multiplied by 1,000 or 1,000,000. Actually, can't really multiply it because there's a different league. And so this is why this is so important. So what does it mean to have wisdom distilled down to the most bare bones, just pure wisdom? What does that actually mean? And what it means, and this is like the gift of the Buddha to the world, it means that the Buddha gives us a vision of the world as the world is on a plate and says, this is what I have seen. I have understood reality. I know you don't understand it because you're all deluded, you're all suffering. I've gone beyond this. I've seen the way things actually are. So what the Buddha gives us is a right view. He gives us a knowledge and understanding of the way the world actually is, so we can act upon that understanding. And if you don't see the world as it actually is, you're going to make really bad choices. Obviously, because our choices are based on how we understand things. And if you have wrong view, you're going to make bad choices. It's like if you wanted to come to the Quaker's house this morning, but you thought it was south of Oxford, dukkha, you can't make it. So you have lots of dukkha. It's terrible not to be part of this, isn't it? I say this is really worthwhile coming, especially if you want to be part of it. It's bad not to be part of it. And so, whenever we have wrong view, Quaker's house south of Oxford, wrong view. Quaker's house actually in the slightly north of Oxford. Is that right? No? So slightly north of Oxford instead. So that's kind of right view then. But of course, that's kind of irrelevant. It's the big view, understanding of life that really matters. And here the Buddha comes, tells us in how many pages? 10,000 pages or whatever, 10,000 pages of just right view. This is the way the world is. There is no essence in a human being. That is the core insight of the Buddha, the lack of any essence. And these are the consequences of that. This is what you have to do to get and understand, have the same insight for yourself. He gives it us on a plate. Now we can start to make good decisions because we are given that same right view that the Buddha had. Now we can start to live our lives in accordance with that right view. So this is the highest gift anyone can give you. This is the greatest jewel. Why? Because right view gives you access to happiness, avoidance of suffering, to all the good things in life. The meaning of life itself arises out of the idea of right view. Isn't that kind of extraordinary? You are thankful for somebody, like Darren just gave me a little sweet. That was very nice, Darren. Thank you very much for that little sweet. And you feel happy just giving a little sweet, right? I feel happy, hope you maybe feel happy as well. But here, the suttas are a few levels up from sweet. So we should, if we really understand what we are given, it's something very, very profound and powerful. This is why the Buddha is the teacher among teachers. We may be grateful to an ordinary teacher, but this is teacher on an entirely different level again. So when you read the suttas, when you take these books in your hand, or maybe you read them on the internet, I don't know, what you do, you should kind of shake a little bit. Wow, the suttas. Wow. That's when you have really understood what's going on. Wow, what is he going to say now? Wow, this is exciting. And then you read very, very carefully because every word matters. Every syllable has something to tell you. Every little thing that may seem insignificant actually probably has some kind of significance. That's kind of the right attitude to the suttas. And then, when you have that kind of attitude, understanding that the Buddha is actually there to teach you, because that's what he actually did when he taught 2,500 years ago. He knew that he was setting in motion the wheel of the Dhamma. He knew this would carry on into the future, going from India to the various parts of the world, first to Sri Lanka, that was one of the first places, then to the north of India, then on the Silk Road into China, and then kind of more and more parts of Asia, and eventually spreading all the way to Oxford. It's good, isn't it? It's here in Oxford now. And that is in large part due to Venerable Chanda and also some of the other monks, actually, like your monastery. I can't remember the name, but Venerable Dhammasami. Is he the one who started the monastery? Yes. Okay, so there you are. So this is this remarkable thing that we are in the presence of when you read the suttas. The Buddha set in motion the wheel of the Dhamma. He knew that he was talking to people, not just the audience in front of him, but audiences in the future, audiences in countries far away with a different culture, different background. So he couched his language in a way that is ordinary. Yeah, he speaks in a way that is not trapped by the Indian cultural norms, but more like universal aspects of human psychology. You read the sutras, you recognize it straight away. It doesn't matter if you're English or even Norwegians can understand this. Yeah, and so everyone, and so it's kind of it has this universal aspect to it, which is also very, very unique in the history of the world in terms of spirituality or cultures or religion or whatever. This kind of universal thing, because it was universal from the beginning. He wasn't teaching anything from the point of view of a culture, but from the point of view of an insight into the nature of what it is to be a human being. So this is the how you can contemplate the Dhamma. Yeah, and you think, wow, this is what I've been given by the Buddha, this amazing treasure. And then you kind of get into it. But what I really want to talk about, because after the Dhamma then comes the contemplation of the Sangha, and because the Sangha emerges from the Dhamma, and the reason why is because when the Dhamma is available in the world, people practicing accordingly, they become Sanghas, they ordain and they have these deep insights. This is the noble Sangha we're talking about here. And then from that, the triple gem is the path, is the next one. And the most important aspect of that path in this context is the idea of sila. So sila nusati, the recollection of virtue, is the next thing that comes here. So recalling basically your own virtue, feeling good about the fact that you are living well, having a sense of goodness inside, having a kind of a warm feeling about how you live your life, a sense that you are, sense of self-worth, self-valuing and these kind of things, they emerge out of that sila, out of living a kind and a good life. And then you can use that as a contemplation. So let me just read out what the Buddha has to say about this, because I always keep on saying the Buddha says this, the Buddha says that, but maybe I'm just lying to you, so now I'm going to read it so that you can be absolutely sure I'm not lying. Do you think I'm lying to you, or do you think no? Okay, good. I'm glad. Excellent. So let's see. So this is what the Buddha has to say about this, right? So this is the idea of recalling your virtue. So furthermore, this is number 4, that's why it says furthermore. Furthermore, a noble disciple, or indeed anyone, recollects their own ethical conduct. This is the sila, which is, and this is the important point, which is unbroken, impeccable, spotless, unmarred, liberating, praised by sensible people, not mistaken, I disagree with that translation, but anyway, not mistaken, and leading to immersion. So you get no, I don't know if those of you who are familiar with Bhante Sujato get no points for guessing that's his translation. When a noble disciple recollects their own ethical conduct, their mind is not full of greed, hatred, and delusion. And delusion. At that time, their mind is unswerving, or their mind is straight, based on ethics or ethical conduct. The noble disciple whose mind is straight or unswerving finds inspiration in the meaning and the teaching, and finds joy connected with the teaching. When you're joyful, rapture springs up. When the mind is full of rapture, the body becomes tranquil. When the body is tranquil, you feel bliss. And when you're blissful, the mind becomes immersed in samadhi, or stilled, if you like. This is called the noble disciple who lives in balance among people who are unbalanced, who lives untroubled among people who are troubled. They've entered the stream of the teaching and developed the recollection of virtue. So This is the idea here, yeah? So you can see how samadhi, it says there, specifically says stillness, which Bhante Sudatta translates as immersion, is the outcome of this kind of recollection. I'm losing my space. Okay, here we are. So this is what this is about. And you can see here many of these, the way that the sila is qualified here, unbroken, impeccable, spotless, unmarred, means that the better your conduct is, the more powerful this is going to be, right? So the more able you are to live a life of morality in a very deep sense. And I mentioned before this morning that really deep morality is to have a mind that is, has compassion, has a sense of love, has a sense of friendliness, has all of these kind of qualities. That is the really most profound aspect of morality. And so we should really try to take it to that point, when we kind of feel a sense of friendliness to everyone in the world. Even if people in the world don't like you, it doesn't matter. You kind of open up your heart to everyone in the world. And if you can do that, then you are really practicing this very fully. If you do some metta meditation, you feel really, you have this kind of broad sense of friendliness for the whole world, and you walk down the street, you kind of smile to everyone, right? And if they don't smile to you, actually it doesn't matter. Who cares? That's their problem, And you smile to the whole world, and you have this natural tendency to be kind to people around you when you have these things established in your heart. So this is what we want to try, when we live our lives, purify the virtuous conduct. So a bit of doing metta, understanding people in the right way, understanding why they are worthy of compassion and friendliness is a very important part of this path. I remember one night I was walking in the monastery, at Bodhinara Monastery here, and I was kind of looking up into the sky, and I was saying that the night sky is quite spectacular in Australia because you have the Milky Way. You don't have this in the northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere you have. So you see lots and lots of stars. The Southern Cross. If you see the Australian flag, it has the kind of the Southern Cross in it. That comes from that. And so I'm looking up in the sky, and I was thinking how sometimes people, they look up into the sky, and when they see the night sky, see the universe, they have this feeling that the universe is kind of cold. It's barren. It's just stars and matter out there. We are the only human beings on this planet. This enormous cold universe around us. But actually, it occurred to me, that is not the Buddhist view of the universe. The Buddhist view of the universe is that the universe and the galaxies are ruled by these Brahmas. You have the thousandfold world system Brahma, the thousandfold to the second power Brahma, right? And so these world systems are kind of permeated by these divine beings who have purified their heart to the very, very highest level. The way to get reborn as a Brahma is to attain one of these very powerful states of samadhi called the jhanas, abandoning all your defilements, practicing the 4 Brahma Viharas, the divine abidings. That's how you become a Brahma. These are these gods. And then from that, because of power, they become this spirit, or this being that kind of pervades almost the entire universe, certainly like the galaxy. And so when you look up into the sky, what you are seeing, in a certain way, is that almost like a manifestation of that Brahma, because this is the sphere that this Brahma pervades. So next time you look up into the night sky, what you're seeing is not coldness. You're not seeing matter that is kind of without any feelings or anything. What you're seeing is the realm of Brahma. You're seeing the realm of loving kindness, of compassion, of sympathetic joy and equanimity. You're seeing the realm of deep samadhi. That's what you're seeing when you look out into the universe. And I promise you, if you look at the universe like that, it will never look to you in exactly the same way again. Now it will be transformed into something very, very beautiful and powerful. It's like you can feel the love almost of the universe when you look at it like that. And then this is one way of transforming one's perceptions. And I remember doing that one night. I was just looking out, and suddenly it occurred to me that we're looking at the universe in the wrong way. This is a much better way of looking at the universe. And then you feel connected in a very large way. In this enormous way you feel connected with the universe. If the universe is benevolent, if the universe is kind, it doesn't matter if there are a few problems in your daily life. These are just little things, in this daily life. But for the large part, the universe actually is a positive force, something positive in your life. Anyway, sometimes you kind of, your perspective shifts a little bit. And this is a beautiful way of then moving on to this idea of purifying your sila in a deeper way, where you start to feel this expansive sense of friendliness for everything around you. These are just suggestions. What I'm saying may not make any sense to you. That's okay. It doesn't have to make any sense. They're just kind of ideas. And if you like the ideas, great. If you don't like them, good enough as well. Doesn't really matter. Either way is fine. So this is a way of thinking about this. Another thing I should bring up, I mentioned yesterday, because I think it's really, really important in our ability to purify our conduct. Yeah, and I was saying yesterday during the talk that someone asked about how you can, what was the question again now? Whatever, I can't remember exactly the question, but my reply was about how we can purify our virtue. Yeah, because this is actually quite hard. And what you very, very often will hear in Buddhist circles that you have to be mindful. And if you're mindful, you can make good choices. Yeah, you can do the right thing. But in my experience, sometimes people are mindful, they still make bad choices. Yeah, I was mindful, but I'm mindfully made a bad choice. Right? This is what people do. I know people who kind of have exactly these feelings. Yeah, I was mindful, but I decided I got to tell that person off. Yeah, okay. All right, okay, whatever. So that means mindfulness doesn't always work, right? It doesn't always have the power that you think it has. And not just that, but very often we are not all that mindful in daily life. I'm sure all of you know, everyone these days seems to be way too busy. Yeah? So maybe this, I often wonder whether the kind of modernity is good or bad for people. But anyway, so very often we don't have the mindfulness. Secondly, even if we have mindfulness, we still make bad decisions. So what then is the way to become more virtuous if mindfulness doesn't work? And the answer is right view. Yeah, because right view is at the foundation of the Buddhist path. In fact, right view comes before morality, whereas mindfulness comes after morality on the Buddhist path anyway. So according to the Noble Eightfold Path, mindfulness is not really supportive of virtue. Of course it is, but it has to be, first of all, developed through virtue. So we cannot really, it's kind of putting cart before the horse a little bit, yeah? So first of all, right view, that will help you develop the virtue, which then in turn will help you to be mindful. And then that mindfulness will then, of course, reinforce the virtue at the beginning. But that's a later stage. That's not the beginning of the path. And so right view is a thing to do, yeah? To actually be able to practice these things fully. And so how do we do this? And this is, for those of you who were there yesterday, you will hear it again. So I don't even apologize anymore for telling things again. But and so the idea here is, this is kind of a simile that came to my mind at some point. I'm not sure exactly where it came from. Maybe I've heard it somewhere else. But this is the simile of, like, if you are going into the busy street in Oxford. I was just out on the high street, or whatever street it's called over here myself. And when I came to the street, did I just walk straight into the street, or did I look left and right, first of all? I was smart enough to look left and right, yeah? I looked left and right, first of all. Why did I look left and right? Was it because I was incredibly mindful? Actually, no, I didn't really need to be very mindful, because I knew it's dangerous to walk into the street. And you will notice that people who have even zero mindfulness, people who are kind of talking on the mobile phone, yeah, and kind of videoing at the same time, or doing whatever, yeah, and it's kind of completely out of it. They don't see any people, and they don't even notice the people around them. But when they come to the street, they still stop, and they still look left and right first. In other words, you don't need much mindfulness. Why? Because you have right view. The right view that this is dangerous. That is the right view when it comes to streets. And because that right view is so powerful, you always look left and right, even if you have exactly zero mindfulness. No, not exactly zero. That's an exaggeration. So, of course, you have some mindfulness, but the mindfulness arises from the right view. Yeah, that's the point. So I'm brought up in this Ajahn Brahm school of never let the truth get in the way of a good story. That's the Ajahn Brahm school of I'm not sure if it's Dhamma or what it is, but anyway, it's so Yeah, so what that means is understanding the danger of immorality. Yeah? And if you understand the danger in immorality, yeah, it is much more dangerous to do something immoral than to walk into that street. Yeah? This is what we don't get. Yeah, we think that walking into the street is dangerous, but yeah, being immoral, a little lie here and there, yeah, that's part of the course, isn't it? Everyone, you have to lie sometimes, otherwise kind of life gets too difficult or whatever. So we are not so concerned about the idea of morality sometimes, but actually immorality, not taking the opportunity to do the right thing when we can, that is far more dangerous than walking into that street. Why? Because you are creating a bad future for yourself when you do that. If you die in an accident, your future is whatever karma you have done. It's got nothing to do with the accident. You may still go to a good future. But if you do immoral things, you are dragging yourself down. Far more dangerous. You're going to die anyway. So we get things wrong. Yeah, we think that the street is dangerous and karma or actions are not so dangerous. Actually, it's the other way around. It is our actions that are really important. So every time you're about to speak, every time you're about to think, you are actually crossing a mega highway with massive trucks coming in all directions. Yeah, look left, look right, for goodness sake. Will you do that? Yeah, so this is what we should be doing. Even when we think, actually, ideally, we should think, okay, should I think this or not think this? Usually it's too late because our thoughts are so fast. But ideally we should do that, because that is the importance of sila, of kindness. We're actually dragging ourselves down. We are kind of corrupting ourselves if we don't take these opportunities. Life is so short. Yeah, before you know it, it's too late. Suddenly impermanence happens and Buddhism doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, maybe when Bachanda dies tomorrow. Is that possible? It is possible. You see, she's saying so. So it's possible. What are you going to do then? Yeah, I often think, what happens if Ajahn Brahm dies? That's what I kind of tend to think. I think, gee, that would be scary. What was it? Yeah, because sometimes we don't know that these pillars of the community, when they fall down, it changes so much in the world. Yeah, it really kind of turns things upside down very often. And that impermanence is actually very scary when you understand it. And it makes the sense of urgency on the path, makes it so much more tangible. So that is a way of understanding why right view is much more important in practicing virtue than mindfulness. And so what that means is that, we should put a lot of effort into contemplating the teachings of the Buddha. What do they actually mean? Read the suttas. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for the sense of urgency in practice? And one very simple way you can get that urgency is precisely by understanding impermanence, the unreliability of the world, how suddenly everything is turned upside down. Everything you thought you could hold on to, you couldn't hold on to it after all. It wasn't safe. You couldn't take your stand anywhere. Yeah, there's always kind of this earthquake waiting to kind of make you fall over any time. And that is the problem with the world. So right view. So then the Buddha says, he says, what does he say? He says, No, he doesn't say that. So that was me saying that. I lose my track here because the page jumps back and forth. Okay, here we are. So, so all of these ideas about it being impeccable, unbroken, all that, being liberating, Buddhisa is one of the ideas of virtue. It's liberating in the sense that it takes you eventually all the way to the end of the path. That sense is liberating. But just the feeling of being virtuous is a liberating feeling. Because all the defilements that we have in the mind, all the feeling, the way you feel if you do bad things, you have remorse. Remorse is a prison. You can't get out of it. You can't just dispel it like that. You can help a little bit by forgiving yourself and all of that, but you can't dispel it completely. It's a prison that you have made for yourself by acting immorally. So immorality leads to all these negative consequences in the mind, and those consequences are basically prisons. Take those away, the mind brightens up. The mind feels kind of pure and beautiful. And that purity within, that beauty within, is actually a liberating kind of feeling. You're free from all those countervailing or opposite characteristics that actually are very painful and problematic. So just being kind liberates you, let alone also, of course, liberating other people because you're kind to them, but also liberates you within. One of the kind of very simple definitions of what is a spiritual action or act compared to a non-spiritual act, if it's good for you and for others, then it's spiritual. Yeah, generosity is good for you and also for others. Kindness is good for you and for others. Meditation is good for you and also for others. Meditation is not a selfish thing. Sometimes people say meditation is selfish. It's nuts to say that. They have no idea what's going on in meditation if they think that. You become a better person by meditating. Yeah, you become more of a benefit for the world. So all of these things are spiritual things because they benefit ourselves and other people. And so it's liberating. And it is praised by sensible people. If you are kind, if you are a good person, the Buddha would praise you for doing that. Yeah? That's kind of nice to know, isn't it? The Buddha says, good on you. It's an Australian expression, good on you. Good on you, mate. That's Australia. So, the praised by sensible people. And too often in the world, we are too concerned about what other people think about us. Do they praise us? Do they say bad things about us? But other people don't know anything. They are blind. They are ignorant. If they praise us for some superficial thing, what does it matter anyway? It's kind of irrelevant. If they blame us for something that is not worthy of blame, who cares? And that way of thinking is a beautiful way. I was talking yesterday about overcoming the self-critical mind. And so often that self-critical mind comes about by previous, criticism for people outside, and then we kind of internalize that, and then we become critical of ourselves. But once you start to understand that people in the world, they don't know anything here. They don't know what is worthy of praise, what is worthy of blame. The Buddha knows what is worthy of praise and blame. So if the Buddha would praise you, then that is all that really matters. Everything else is kind of irrelevant. So there's also another liberating kind of feeling, or way of thinking about things. Not mistaken literally means not grasped. The idea there is just not to hold on too much to the sila, so you hold on enough to make sure you have sila, but you don't grasp it in a too much of a way. Especially when you become a stream mentor, then all the grasping is gone because it becomes part of who you are. You become a moral individual when you are a stream mentor. That's kind of part of it. And then comes the last one, leading to immersion, leading to stillness, leading to samadhi. That's the last one here. This is what we see throughout the suttas, again and again in various places. Sila always leads to samadhi. It leads to mindfulness first, and then via mindfulness it takes you to samadhi as well. So this is the idea of, first of all, living right, and then using this recollection afterwards, in your meditation. Understanding, thinking about it in this way. I'm doing something that's praised by sensible people, by wise people. Vinyu means also wise. Sensible and wise, basically here used synonymously. Isn't that nice to be praised by wise people? And so you kind of, wow, this actually feels good. I'm living well. I'm keeping the 5 precepts, actually keeping more than the 5 precepts, I'm doing all those other things as well. It means I'm helping people in the world, feeling less afraid. We are afraid in the world if other people rip us off or they tell us lies. That's kind of scary. I don't do that to anyone. I give people the freedom from fear, freedom from anxiety, at least those who come in contact with me. We can give physical gifts and we can give psychological gifts. This is like a psychological gift to the world. It's a beautiful thing to give to everyone. That's what happens when you keep the 5 precepts, because you don't cheat anyone. You don't do anything bad. And when you think like that, you start to feel, this is great. Okay, you're not perfect yet, but at least you're doing a lot already to support everyone around you and support the world around you. And then, as you reflect in this way, it really starts to become powerful and beautiful. So this is the little bit about the idea of the recollection of virtue. I'd like to say much more, but I'm not going to say anything more. that means you have to come back next time. This is the way we trick you to come back next time. No, we have to do some more meditation here. So this is just a little bit of background for you so that we can do some more meditation together. And I have asked my two venerables here to help me with the guided meditation, because that means that I can just relax and enjoy a little bit as well. And they have very kindly agreed, so I'm really appreciative of that. So I'm going to pass the...
Thank you for watching. We believe our program on Buddha Dharma TV will inspire peace lovers around the globe. I am Nidarsha Kurituwaku. Good night. Namo Buddhaya.